Okay, hello there. I just wanted to do a quick run through of this plugin exporter I've been working on. So I just have this example plugin. All it does is add a little panel down here, but it's using a global class to create this movement menu. So it's this dock manager class, and I have it in a separate folder. So here's our example plugin here. There's just the 4 files. And it's pulling this dock manager class from up in here. And so what the plugin exporter allows you to do is use it just like that. I have that in a submodule up in that folder, so I can work on it. I can push the changes, pull changes. It's going to be fine between projects. But when I export it from my project, it's going to package these files in with the package. And so first thing we got to do is open up the plugin exporter. So if we come up to the tool menu there, there's a plugin exporter. You can open up a window. I also am going to package in this little console plugin. And so this is another thing the exporter can do is I can package this plugin in with the plugin exporter. And so with this, I could go global plugin exporter call, and then I could run the init process on the plugin, which would be example plugin. That's one way. The other way is we can go up to plugin exporter tab, go to the tool menu here, we'll create a new file. So it says pick plugin folder. So we're going to go to example plugin, select it. It says plugin init complete. So you can see there's now this export ignore folder. In here is a JSON file, which has kind of the default values set. You can come in here and change things, but for now, I'm not going to go into that. And then there's also this pre and post export file. And so if you needed something to run before you export or after, you can just do things in here. If you needed to move files or maybe reset files to a default value or something. Okay, so let's go back to plugin exporter. And so now we have our example plugin set here. We can, there's that dock manager again. So I use that here too. You can see I can use it in multiple plugins, pulling from the same spot there. And when I export, it's going to create a new copy. So from here, we can read the file. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go into your config file and get the version number. And it's going to show all the files that are going to be exported. So because we're pulling from that dock manager, if we come into remote, we're actually pulling more because of the dock manager. The dock manager pulls from my utility library. So we can see dock manager is a dependency to plugin GD. If we come into utils here, you see these utility files are dependency to dock manager. This one is to another class in the dock manager, and so on. So all of these are what's needed. The only thing I declared in that script was dock manager GD. And so everything else is just automatically pulled in. Okay, so, and then just as a test here, as a demonstration, I've got these 3 classes here. So we got test base, test class, extends test base, and then test extended class, extends test class. So if we use test extended class, we should have all 3 of these included. It's going to recursively go through the files that it finds and add any preloads and any extended classes. So if we come back to our plugin, we don't even have to do anything really. Let's just say test extended class, can reread, and now you can see we've got all 3 of those. And yeah, that's about it. So we'll just export now, and these are just some debug prints. I got to remove those, but yeah, so created a GD ignore because the default export is in the export ignore folder of the plugin. My thought is that you can then commit the files. You could keep your plugin repository and export into the export ignore. Then you could commit the files if you wanted, commit the package. And so let's just open that up. So we come into exports here, got example plugin, got the zip file, which it's just whatever's in here. And so this is ready to go to drop into your add-ons folder. You could go into that export ignore JSON file or plugin export.json, and you could change this. So if you wanted it to be like lots of people have it add-ons and then your plugin, in an add-ons folder, you can make it do that if you wanted. Let's just open up a test project here. So let's copy in our example plugin, extract it, and there we go. Example plugin. We've got all our new files. If we look in here, let's pull up that doc manager so you can see all of the preload paths have been updated to the new location. And with the plugin, it'll actually add anything used as a preload. And if we come into the test classes, so we had test base, which will be nothing. Test class, extended test base. So we have extends test base. Test base is the preload. And then test extended class, extends test class. And so the idea here is that you can work in your plugin repo with all of the global classes you want, but when you export, they will be stripped just because you really don't need to include global classes for the user. If the user is not going to use the class, it makes no sense to add it to the global class. Now, you as the plugin designer might want that class, right? And so, yeah, you get this package with no global classes. You can choose to keep them. So if you go in to that JSON file, you can say, don't rename test class or don't rename the base class or whatever. And let's just test her out. Example plugin. There we go. Looks good, no errors. And yeah, it's as simple as that. So, it can be handy for, let's say you didn't want to pull from like a central folder for your utilities. You could use it just to strip the class names. Like I said, you could use it to include full-on plugins. That plugin exporter itself includes the little editor console. And so if we go into that plugin exporter folder, see I have Godot editor console plugin GD. And the way that this works is when you're doing like extended classes or with preloads, you can type remote at the top, and we don't even need this path in here anymore. That's a older version. If we extend a class from out of the plugin folder, put this remote, like what do you call that? Shebang remote. It'll recursively copy this file and anything else that it preloads. And then we can also declare this config path and call it a dependency. And if we put current there, it's instead of going to put it in your remote folder, it's going to copy it right next to this file. Okay, so that's the rundown. Hopefully this be useful. Really it's just to help people make better plugins, right? I've run into some plugins that have like 25 classes that it adds to the global space, and they really do not need to be there. So really, if you had a plugin that added all these, you could do it yourself too if you wanted to just strip them. So it's very easy. Yeah, it's free to use. I'm gonna have it on my GitHub. I'll put the link down below. But yeah, I think that's about it. See ya.